Alright, Chapter 10, Rendering and Illumination. After creating 3D model at the time to present the virtual prototype out, we'll look at the built, refabricated the chapter. We'll present with the rendering process related with the command with a simulated natural artificial lighting. Topics covered in the chapter to follow with the understanding rendering, how to create photorealistic images, how to create the test rendering, identify geographic photometric lighting, how to eliminate its scene, how to apply lighting in the sun sky, how to apply pilot spotlights, other lights, how to manage and adjust lights, rendering concept and commands to present all rendering concept commands to obtain photorealistic image of the 3D model. General concept of fundamental output with the 3D model, the creation photorealistic images which represent how the model will work after building and refabricating it. The render is thus an image defined with the horizontal vertical pixels obtained with the 3D model, where the Autocad calculates visible faces, all lighting, scening, and eventually including the indirect lighting and applied materials, some of the effects such as the background. After creating 3D scene, which all commanded with the methodology seen, the typical rendering work as follows. Apply camera simulation, the user location point to look at the target and perspective defining what to show. Apply light condition for exterior scenes and interior scenes wherever the outside of the light. Important light due to the sun and sky must be considered. For artificial, we apply the point lights and spotlights and web lights that simulate real conditions. Apply realistic material. Autocad comes with a large library of materials that can be applied right away with the adjustable easily. However, this is quite easily. Create configuration materials, photo images, procedural maps, material textures as presented in the next chapter. Apply environmental effects such as background fog and depth cues. Apply render commands. Autocad with an mental ray rendering technology licensed with the German company with the mental image layer brought by the NVIDIA. Power rendering supports physical correct simulation lighting. Indirect lighting in the next image includes an example. Rendering is an iterative process. Only renders will adjust illumination materials in order to get the desired realism. After lighting a material change for the common rendering, the scene of the part of the intermediate renders does not need full quality. Rendering time depends on the complexity of the model, number of lights. Indirect and apply with materials, reflection, refractions take longer, and render quality and render solutions. Access to commands. All major commands related with the rendering and lighting of the material of the rendering panel on the ribbon, which can be found with the menu bar by view rendering on the rendering toolbar. Shows some properties: geographic location, distance light, spotlight, point light, rendering, lightest, material browser, open material editor, open rendering environment, rendering preference, material map. Rendering command. The following section we show that the commands related to the rendering calculation include the preset of the image of the file with the rendering command. Rendering command creates a realistic image according with the 3D model with light and material effect with the default rendering parameter. The rendering parameters such as image resolution defined with the our preference command. We apply this command with the rendering starts immediately directly on the drawing area with a special render window depending on the default parameter. The rendering window to display with the following screenshot with the resizable areas of the menu bar. Alright, the image area display with the image being calculated with the calculation made with the same small square with typically the mental rendering method below the image with the two horizontal bars with the display with the rendering progress meter with the one with the top and indicate with the progress with the current rendering phase. The one over the bottom show with the complete rendering and the history of the area below. The image include the rendering images on the drawing session along with the easy comparison with the columns include the output 6 on the pixel with the view name of the rendering type of the rendering preset with the tools presented with the following topic provided save an image. Image information area to display with the default setting used for the selected image, including some of the statistical information menu. Saving the image of on the top menu bar under the file. We can save the image of the save of the copy with the under another name via live with the display with the taskbar with the statistic area with the tools allowing zoom in and out of the other image. Zoom wheel is also allows for this on the bottom area with the right click on the image listed with the we accept the shortcut menu with the following options. Render again. Replace the selected render with the render from the current view. In settings, save the selected drawing JPEG to MPNG, TIFF, TGA, bitmap format after naming and location specification boxes. Display with the option size related to chosen format, namely number of colors and resolutions. Save copy creates another image of the same rendering, but the name of it must be different even when it chooses another format. Make rendering settings. Currently, this allows specifying the settings from the selected render to the next renders. Remove it from the list. Remove the selected rendering from the list, but if the render was already saved, the corresponding image is not deleted. The output file of the file was saved. The option also allows you to delete the image file. Shortcut menu can be seen on the following screenshot. And it shows the render again. Save copy to make rendering settings current. Remove from the list. Delete output file. The render win command. The render win command allows the RW to display with the render window. Allows you to view the process rendering's current drawing session. It will also apply with the command. We do not create with the repeat with the last render. Just render window. With the render of history is displayed with the command asking nothing. Render crop command. Render crop command. Alias RC allows you to create a render in part of the current view directly on the viewport, not a render window listed. It just prompts two opposite corners and start the render immediately. Render crop. Pick up the crop window. The render point places the end of the second point. Note this command is greater than testing material in part of scenes without needing to render the complete view. The following screenshots show the result of the rendering crop command. Saving image command. Saving the image command. No alias. Save the current rendering to a file. Display of the file box that's according to the chosen format. Setting the dialog box. Note the rendering of the viewport with the command is useful if we want to save the result rendering. Alright, our preference command. The our preference command is the RPR. Is a command specifying the default settings for the rendering, coagulation, rendering crop command. Display with the advanced rendering setting of the palette with the means of the stay visible with the multiple parameters on top. We have the list of the saved rendering preset, the rendering button in, and all of the seasons we have the 5 predefined rendering preset, ranging in low to very high quality, higher quality laundering to rendering draft and low preset qualities are very bad, medium is acceptable, high is very good, and presentation is the best. Additionally, we can define new preset settings. Alright, the general panel is displaying the following image containing the following areas. Render content with the content with the most important parameter. Small with the icons allows you to save the file when rendering. In procedure, we choose to render the current view of the crop of the view with the only render of the selected object with the destination indicated with the rendering process of the rendered window on the viewport when sizing the file. Output file name allows you to specify the name and the full of the output side of the resolution from the predefined size as defined by US maximum 4000 pixels. Exposure type which simulates the camera exposure can be automatic and logarithmic. Physical scale indicate the physical scale applied to lights. Material applied materials allows it to render the applied materials if and set off. It will render the global materials that weave the object's colors and the text filter in control of the anti-liaison applied to the texture. Force to side amplifies materials on both sides of the faces. Sampling this area with control of the anti-aliasing effect. They avoid jagged edge of the predetermined maximum minimum numbers of the sample to define each of the sample pixels, same mechanism, the number of pixels, width, and height of the interference area with the influence of the colors of the anti-elisions. Shadows. The lamp icon turns the shadow calculation on or off. The mode defined with a transparent shadow calculation. Shadow map allows the soft edge shadow sampling multiple or limited sampling for the area limits. And it shows the advanced rendering settings. Alright, ray tracing panel allows you to control the maximum number of the reflection rate for reflection rays of the render calculation max depth of the being sum of the reflection, refraction, and indirect illumination. Panel contains the following area of the global illumination lamp turned on. Indirect lighting is considered. Light is reflected on the object with it turned off. The areas without direct lighting and will render it as black. Photon sample specify how many photons per sample are considered. The use of the radius isn't. If honored, must specify the radius of the sample, the remaining parameters. Line photons, number of the reflection, of the refraction. Larger values cause the brighter indirect illumination, but will need more time for rendering. Final gathering. This is another mechanism in the process of the indirect lighting. When rays are shot with the user view of the camera, normally faster than the global illumination. Control of the number of the rays, also of the sample, the radius, while be with the maximum and the minimum values. Light properties can be specified by the number of the photons per lights and energy multiplier diagnostic. Panel includes some of the advanced tools of the analyzing rendering mechanism. Processing panel specify the side of the method, the memory limited for the smaller square buckets using rendering render calculations. Alright, for most users, it's enough to apply with the render context parameters, choose the preset rendering quality for improve the scene with the medium preset with the OK with the final renders. High presentation preset should be used while the later advised the material of the texture does not look good enough. Rendering preset command or RP allows you to define the preset rendering qualities, reside 5 preset available to define any number of the new preset with a command display with a dialog box with 3 areas on the left with a list of all of the available preset with all the parameters are identical to the rendering preference parameters of the selected preset with the display with the term that can be adjusted on the right area of the bottom's axis with the preset with the gray with the new and from selected one to delete with the custom preset. Rendering preset manager, show the rendering percent current setting, medium, standard rendering, drafting low, medium, high, presentation, custom rendering preset, medium, preset in general, material sampling, shadows, ray tracing, maximum depth, interaction, final gathering, and then thumbnail, set, create, copy. Exercise 10-1. You're going to try several rendering configurations, simple drawing. While drawing A3D 1001, the drawing contains a thick glass of the ball table on some shining balls. No changing anything, make the first rendering by typing the RR. Type the R preference command with the draft low modes, and instead of apply with the rendering command, which applies for the rendering button to the right of the list. Now select the high presentation modes on the rendering window. When compared with all these rendering include time see improvements, especially on the wall, the bowl. Maintain the rendering presentation on the final gathering area. The change of the mode to on. Assign the 5,000 rays. Render improves a little better, but the time increases about more than 7 times. Then we set the final gathering mode option to auto and decrease the numbers raised to 200 now. We return the global illumination rendering again. We notice the darker areas get it lighter because there is some of the light reflected off the wall. Rendering times decreased lots of compared final gathering with rays of 5,000. See the drawing name A3D 10NA1 drawing. Presentation and global illumination. Alright, scene illumination. When going to see how they add lights to scene, making a distinction between the natural light with the sun and sky, limitation, artificial lighting, point lights and spotlights, distant lights and web lights, AIES file information. Default lighting. Before adding any light with the Autocad, apply with the default lighting consistent with the 2 addition of the lights parallel with the denoting direction of the orbiting view with the default lighting. The file with the Y, making rendering without applied lights with the brown can be seen without shadows, which is unrealistic. We created the first light with the active sunlight with the Autocad prompt. The turning of delighting similar when with lights applied with the defaulting lighting variable. Control of the illumination U with the coherent viewport 0 to applied lights and 1 to default lighting. The variable does not affect the renderings. General photometric lighting. The Autocad can calculate indirect lighting, thus adding realism to the scene. It takes the more time to render achieve the photometric lights when intensifies measured real lighting units in the candle foot as a candle with the options are available. The international photometric lights applied with light intensities are measured with international units of name candela. American photometrics are applied with the light intensity they measure with the American unit of name foot candles. Generic lights are applied without lightings. Each light has a generic intensity value 1, which corresponds to real lights. Illumination can be activated by using the following units command ALASUN available lighting area with the dialog box. Lights panel available the rendering type and lights panel lighting units variable. The variable would save the drawing with control of the generic value 0, American value 1, international value 2 lights. These options can be seen in screenshot. Units and ribbon lightings. No generic lighting renders are faster out with it. Does not calculate indirect lighting. Does not seem some realism. What needs to replace with the shovel the false lights without shadows to simulate light reflection of an object, sunlight and skylight. Simulate light for some that we apply with the next command with the photometric light with the international American. We go off with the eliminating simulation from the sky coming all around with the model with the defining with the position with the sun relay with the model with the azimuth and absolute altitude, geographic location, order, direction, hour with the date with the must be defined. Sun properties command with the sun properties command with the no light display with the palette with all the parameters with the defined sunlight with lights and infinite with the project with the parallel shadows on the palette with the display with the following image with the following areas. General stats allow for the turning on the sunlight and off with the intensity. We can increase the degree of the sunlight intensity with the control of the color control of the sunlight with the color with the generic lighting of the photometric lighting with the color with automatically calculated based on location, date, and time. Shadows can be turned on and off. Sky proximity of the areas are only available. The photometric lighting will be presented with the next sun angle calculated with the date, with the chart, with the date, with the time, with the precise hour, with the minute, with the date, with the calculated with the sunlight, with the daylight saving option. We can adjust the solar hour Consider economical reason the remaining value of the azimuth, altitude, and source vectors are calculated with the previous parameters. Geographic location. Rendering shadow details, type of the control, shadio, type of the sharp of the soft map, the soft area with the generic lighting. We can choose between the sharp and the soft edges, and photometric lighting, type and soft area with the control sample, the precision, softness, detail of the edges. Geographic location panel display with the current geographic location, small icon array with the geographic location tab. Start with the geographic location command, presented with the next topic. Sky properties. This panel is available with the photometric lighting with the control of the sky background, sky illumination, small icon with the bright of the sky property display with the adjust of the sun, sky background, the light box, similar parameters in the panel with the preview air with the test level, the activate sky lighting with the sky background, intensity factor level, the increase of the degree with the sky lighting, intensity with the phase defined with the atmospheric aspect. For the horizon, we can define with the horizontal ground plane normally, namely absolute height with the horizontal blur ground color, and advance with the define with the sky color with the night aerial perspective visible distance. Finally, sun disk appearance with the specify the sun visualization, namely disk scale with the glow intensity with the disk intensity. Note the sun sky background can only be used with the perspective view. The perspective view of the SAS off that cannot be modified. We can go with the adjust the sun and sky background box and turn it on here. Geographic location command. The geographic location command alias geo defined with the geographic location for the northern direction, essential for the calculate the azimuth altitude for the sun. Sometime we apply this command window of the display with the prompt use between the properties of the import with the KML, KMZ, port latitude, longitude, elevation value with the KMZ, with the file with the XML notification, include the geographical information created with the Google Earth, and import with the current location from the Google Earth. If Google Earth is open, it imports the current location from the Google Earth directly to the scene. Enter the location values retrieve with the location northern direction on the new dialog as files. If we already have the defined geographical location, similar blocks display with the option of the A with the current location defined with the new one, or delete with the creating edit in the geographical new glow box displayed with the following area, the display with the following image, latitude, longitude, first area, latitude, longitude, going between the decimal value, the degree of the magnitude. Minutes and second latitude, where enter the latitude value between 90 degrees and positive 90 degrees to the north and south longitude, with enter the longitude value with the negative 80, 180 degrees to positive 180 degrees, related with the west and east of the U.S. map with the button. Map button display with the next bar with a specified location. This can be done with the directly with the map display with the selection region from the nearest city list. Time zone listed all shows with the time zone corresponding to the chosen location. The nearest big city is one of the picking on the map. The location jumping to the nearest city. Coordinates elevation area with the specified with the drawing coordinates of the elevation geographical location will be played with the northern direction defined with the navigation related with the y-axis of the world coordinate system. It is not modified with the north direction is given with the y-axis of the world coordinate system upon direction. We define the axis world coordinate system as vertical. So the geographical location picture, I guess. No orientation scene related to the sun is much better than the change with the northern direction. Rotate with the entire scene with the change with the northern direction view cover. The rotate with the coordinates top of the view of the different from the plane view. Latitude and longitude variables indicate current views. The latitude, longitude, the northern direction variable indicate with the northern direction latitude with the y-axis of the world coordinate system. Exercise 10.2 will render 3D model with the two different times of the day, opening with a 3D and O2 with a simple half with the apply with the rendering wheel. Simple, see the model only with the default lighting, some properties of sunlight with the shaft of the show with the 9 p.m. The time of the rendering will maintain the detail of the 2109-2012. Will get shadows back. The result of them very, very good. They are completely black. Alright, that's very interesting, but I don't give a shit. Point lights. The artificial lighting and the point lights beside the point light command AutoCAD provides the target point light. Point lights are represented with a small cylindrical glyph. Point light command is no LS creates a pilot point light, and there is the light has specific location radiated lights in all directions. Examples are bulb, fire, and candle. The command prompt for light locations are point light location, source location 001. Press enter the key to the command that choose the option. Enter option, name, intensity factor, status, photometry, shadow, attenuation, filter, color, exit, and enter option. The name this allows to give the name of the light was quite useful when having many lights. Intensity factor allows you to specify the intensity of the brightness with a value starting at 0. So this allows you to turn off the light and on. Photometric, the option available to photometric lighting, allows you to specify the intensity of the color and lighting units, such as the candle lux of the footing candle. Color allows you to specify the color of the light based on the name of the temperature, and then Kelvin. The shadow allows you to turn shadow projection on and off, selected with the type of the sharp shelf, the attenuation, generic lighting. This option allows you to define an attenuation distance of the light with the attenuation type of the option control. There is no attenuation none of the inverse linear, the quadratic, inverse, square, with the use limits of the defined true distance of the starting and for editing, ending with the photometric lighting and attenuation, setting it inverse square, and it cannot be modified. Filter color controls light color, allows you to choose between a true color, red, green, blue, values separated by commas, Autocad color, or a color book. No, to point lights, we can move the glyph, then move the control of the position with the aim of the material of the point, best way with the properties command, also with the change of the type of the light, with the target point command, no L is created with a special light, with the emits light add the specific direction of the commands can only be accessed with the command line with the command prompt with the type, the light, location, light, target, the display with the same line for the previous command. Target point, safe, specify source, location, source, target, location, enter option, chain with the name and intensity factor, status, photometry, shadow, attenuation, filter, color, and enter option. Spotlights. Other important artificial spotlights with simulate with a projector spot with a flashlight with a point light with the two commands with the first one with the target, the second one without the target with the spotlights with the representative with a small flashlight glyph. Spotlight command allow now alias allows you to create light with a projection in the shape of the cone with the command prompt with the position. Target where the light points for the area as well as the spotlight source location, target location, into the command choice, an option, enter option, chain with the name and intensity stat with the photometry, hotspot, fall off, shadow, attenuation, fillet, color, and exit, enter option. These options of the command are also as well. The most of the same of these of the file of the name allows you to give the name of the intensity, allows you to give the specify the intensity of the brightness of the value of the starting of the 0 steps, allows you to turn on the light on off the photometric. The option is available. The photometric lighting allows you to specify the intensity of the color and lighting unit, such as candela lux or foot candle colors, allow to specify the color of the light based on the name of the temperature, Kelvin, and spot with the specify the cone angle with the constant, intensity of the value with the range of the 0 degrees to 160 degrees, fall off, specify the total cone angle with include the rating intensity with the value ranging from 0 degrees to 160 degrees, never less than the hotspot available outside of the cone where there will be no light. Shadow lights always turn the shadow projections on and off, selecting the type of the sharp shelf. Attenuation general lighting is always defining the attenuation of the distance from the light, the attenuation type of the option control, but there is no attenuation, none of the linear, the inverse linear, quadratic, inverse squared. With the use of light with the defined two distances starting from end with photometric lighting attenuation, so inverse squared, and cannot be modified. Filter color control lights allowing you to choose between the color red, green, and blue values separated with the camera's Autocad color or color book. To adjust spotlights, include position, target, hotspot, fall off, angle, move the glyph grips, then use the previous channel with the property command with include the parameters, also use the chain with the type of the light. Free spot command creates a special spotlight with the target with the orientate light when you the rotate 3D command. Free spot can only be accessed from the command line. Command prompts light location display with the same option previous command. Free spot specify source location point, enter option, chain with the name of the intensity factor, photo tree, hotspot, fall off, shadow, attenuation, and filter, color, exit, and enter option. Other lights. AutoCAD consider the 3 more lights at one distant with the emits parallel rays and 2 web lights whose realistic intensity derived in the IES files. I'm going to skip those. Alright, rendering exposure command. The rendering exposure will control the exposure when rendering. Commander is not available to generic light. The display of the adjust of the rendering is not available in generic light. Adjustable rendering dialog box preview area updates immediately. It has the following options. Brightness, adjust the brightness value, apply with the render with the value ranging 0 to 265. The default contrast, adjust with the value ranging 0 to 150 by 50 is the default. Midtones, adjust midtones with the brightening, darkening, and immediate colors without modifying most bright and dark colors accepts. Value 0 to 20 default is 1. Exterior daylight controls whether the exterior daylight is considered when the exposure passes. Background controls whether the applied background is considered within the shirt or not. Following images include the application as is command control over old light command. Shit. Alright, summary. The chapter includes all of the command concepts related to the rendering, lighting of the rendering, allow the view of the photorealistic image of the 3D scene. The general concept of the typical workflow were presented, followed by the rendering command, main command to render, all save the rendering image of the related commands. Render wind, display of the rendering window, render crop, the render just some of the part of the view, ease full testing, save the image to save the rendering image, viewport, preference, specify all the default parameters used for the rendering, including activation, global illumination, final gathering, rendering preset, create rendering preset. Introduce illumination starting with the default generic photometric, apply the natural settings, some properties, also carrying skylight, geographical location, specification, north direction, several commands, apply with the artificial lighting, point light, creating point light, spotlight with a create spotlight, distant light, simulate with the far away point, predicted parallel waves, web lights consisting of IE file of the managed lights. We apply with a list of the light command using photometric lights, rendering exposure. Commands allows you the control of the exposure. Finally, with the opening scenes from the version pre-year 2007, convert to old lights. Command converts these old lights in these new chapter will explore material effects. Chapter 11, Materials and Effects.